Welcome to Brookwood High School. We are here tonight to talk about change. We have a nice agenda planned, we think. We have, and Joe's going to get into this in a moment, but we have 2 parcels of land where there are rezoning requests out, and they affect everyone in this area. So we're going to talk about it tonight. Before we get started, I would like to recognize some people. He was in the back. Senator Don Balfour is here joining us. He's all the way in the back. We have having trouble is what we're having. We have State Representative Brett Harrell. County Commissioner Tommy Hunter. Mayor of Snellville Kelly Couts. Town Council Member Dave Emanuel. Town Council Member Barbara Bender. Town Council Member Bobby Howard. And I probably shouldn't introduce this guy, but I've known him for so long. We have the Chairman of the Zoning Commission for the City of Snellville, Joe Williams. Okay, with that said, this is a big crowd, and we know that this is an action-packed, emotional issue that we're going to be talking about tonight. And I want everyone to understand that it does us no good to get emotional or to get angry. We are going to listen to presentations from the 2 developers that are going to try to build properties. And when they're done, there'll be time for questions and answers. In a crowd this size, we don't want random hands going up or people blurting out. So what we have done is there's a podium in the middle of the room here. If you have questions, please come to the podium, and we have a microphone there. But that's down the road a little ways. The next thing I'd like to talk about is that the town council is here, and incidentally, one of them has to leave, and we really appreciate them coming. But per city law, if they congregate in a group like this, it's not right, okay? So one of them will be leaving. I'm not sure which one after the introductions and after. It looks like Barbara Bender is going to be leaving, because it's not that she's not interested, it's that she's not allowed to be here now. One of them has to leave, okay? I'd also like to thank them for coming. I want to make some clarifications. The Town Council of Snellville is not our opponent. They are simply citizens that are trying to do their job. Per law, they cannot answer questions, they cannot make faces, they cannot nod, they can't do anything that indicates that they favor any of what we're talking about one way or the other. It's just not right. So I would like all of you to understand that their lack of participation is a legality. It is not a preference. So let's treat them with the respect. They are nothing more than citizens that are trying to serve us. And we really appreciate you guys being here. Okay? Now, with that, hello. Oh, this is going to be fun. With that said, on a light note, we are here tonight to talk about change, are we not? We live in a community. This community has been our home for many years. I've been here for 28 years. I don't know about the rest of you. But these rezoning applications represent change. Some changes are good. 100 years ago, people were riding horses. Now we have cars. A lot more expensive, but we have them. And other changes are not so good. And tonight, you guys are going to have to determine what's good change, what's bad change, And then we're going to ask you to let the town council know, in a nice way, how you feel about what's happening. Whether you are for it or against it, it's important that we hear your voice. Okay? With that said, I'd like to introduce Will Zant. Will is the senior co-pastor for Cannon Methodist Church, and we'd like to have him get this meeting off on the right foot, okay? Will Zant.
Would you pray with me? God of grace and God of mercy, tonight we gather. We gather as a community. We gather as a people who desire to know what is best for this city and its people. We gather as a people of different backgrounds who unify over creating a shared vision. We thank you for the presence of the representatives of the city of Snellville. We pray for them as they will make important decisions affecting your people. We thank you for the presence of the representatives from the development companies. We thank you for this community's presence and concerns. Bless us tonight. Fill this room with your grace and spirit. These are your great people. Tonight, walk beside us. Give us a spirit of dialogue and understanding. Help each person to feel heard as you give voice to people's passions and convictions and anger and hearts. Help us to speak and not shout, to dialogue and not demean. Shine light onto what is true and onto what is false. Help each person to speak truthfully and in love. And from all sides, help us to speak with civility as we seek to understand what will be best for Snellville, its residents, and all your people. Amen.
Okay, as part of the process, I kind of overlooked a few people. I'd like to introduce you to Woody Snell and Marion Adami, right? Adami, representing Linwood Properties. And over on this side, we have Justin Abernathy. Justin is if memory serves me correctly, a 2003 Brookwood graduate. We have Brand Morgan, representing Morgan Properties, and Lee Tucker, who we've known each other over the years. Okay, so those are the important introductions. Well, I take that back. We have Brenda Lee. Brenda represents SOS. And we've got Joe Anderson sitting behind me, and he's going to be making a presentation. He also represents SOS. SOS is a group that was formed. It is not a legal entity. It is nothing more than a communications effort to get the word out to the community about changes in our community. It is, we don't speak for anyone. We try to create a forum that allows people to communicate with each other. Okay? With that said, I would like to introduce Joe Anderson.
Wow, thank y'all for coming. This is amazing. I'm a former Snellville City Councilman. I had the honor of serving the city back in '99 to 2003 when I moved just outside can't hear me? I know, I'm terrible at speaking. I learned two things when I was on city council. One was never follow Melvin Everson when he's on a speech. Yeah, they know. Melvin is a fabulous speaker. I am a terrible speaker. Terrible public speaker. I learned the 3 B's of public speaking: be funny, be short, and be seated. So I'll try to stick to that tonight. 2 different development groups have made application to the city of Snellville in mid-July for land use changes and rezonings for apartments on the edge of Snellville near Eastside Hospital. You guys know the story pretty much. We put an SOS out to the world And man, did you respond, and here you are tonight. Over 1,000 organic Facebook likes in a week. We're getting about 3,000 active hits on most posts that go up there. It's just kind of amazing. But Linwood Development is planning 271 apartment units, 68 townhouses, and 60 cluster homes, single-family homes. Well, there we go, wrong end. And that's in the red property here. Y'all have probably looked it over. Sorry. Brand Properties has submitted a plan that shows 252 units, apartment units, up here in this area, on this tract. Just to orient you, that would be the Best Buy, that's Lowe's. This area is Eastside Hospital Campus. Down here is the Target Shopping Center. This is Tree Lane, around here. Waterford Township back here, and right there is the Woodlands. Let's see if we can go to the next slide. We've already gone. This is the Linwood development. Again, 271 apartment units, 68 townhouses, and 60 cluster houses. The land is currently zoned for a self-contained continuing care retirement community that would allow over 790 units designed specifically for seniors, people over 62. It's continuing care like the Isaacson development near Stone Mountain Park Springs, I believe it is. The plan for it would include commercial space for limited uses such as beauty parlors, dining rooms for the senior residents, those types of uses. It was designed to be, the zoning for it was crafted so that it would be more or less a self-contained senior residence. If we go to the next slide, the brand proposal is for 252 apartment units. And again, on this, where'd it go? Best Buy is here. This part here is still being reserved for commercial development, and then this part back here is where the apartment buildings will be. If you see these areas right here, these are stream buffers. So these are not buildable areas, state mandated stream buffers. Back before the Great Recession hit us, there was rumors of a Costco going back in this area. But that's, I think, behind us now. So if we go to the next slide, this is Ron and me. Hold your breath, bite your tongue, whatever you have to do. If you disagree with something the presenters say, save it for the Q&A time. Again, we want to thank our honored guests, the elected officials who are here tonight. They're taking time out of their life, and I can tell you that the Snellville councilmen are paid a huge sum of $333, I think, a month. They probably have to turn themselves in for working below minimum wage for all they do, and I've seen them, a very active group of councilmen today. And remember, these are the guys that will be voting on the land use change on October 27th. As a aside to my neighbors and friends, I have never brought someone to my point of view by starting a conversation by "you are an idiot" or "you're corrupt." So let's get that out of our vocabulary. They're just going to stop listening to us all if we approach it in that way. Let's honor our elected officials. Bring them cookies. I don't know. Is that legal? I don't know. But okay, no cookies. No cookies. Paul had something pretty relevant, some pretty relevant words for tonight in Ephesians 4:25. He said, "Therefore each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to his neighbor, for we are all members of one body. In your anger do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold." Now tonight, if someone near you gets excited, help calm them down. We don't want to have to send anyone to the principal's office. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Again, we talked about change briefly. Some changes are good changes, some changes are bad changes. It's up to you to determine what's what. 54 years ago, in this community, South High School opened its doors. 54 years ago, is that right? Anybody know? I think that's about right. At that time, there was no Brookwood High School, there was no Shiloh, there was no Berkmar, there was no Parkview, no Meadow Creek. I believe Loganville had a small high school at that time. They opened their doors just a short 54, 55 years ago. All of the students from that huge area, and all these schools have some 3,000 students in them, 3,000 plus, all of them came to South High School. The total enrollment at that time was about 500 children. This community has grown. There's a lot of things happening. With growth comes change. And again, we have to look at good change and bad change. Just to lighten things up a little bit, Jeff Markey, you're not allowed to comment. Who recognizes this very famous person? This has changed, folks. That's me. That's my senior high school graduation picture. Now, I'm telling you what, is that change? Huh? Take a look at this. That's not good change. Right? I think I still look like this. I look in the mirror and I see my father looking back at me. That's change. I don't like that change, but it is change, sorry. It is change nonetheless. Tonight we're going to hear from people that are trying to implement some change. And on the agenda, I believe that we had Linwood first, but you want a second. And so I'd like to introduce who's coming up. Lee? Lee Tucker.
Thank you, folks. You're very kind to clap. My name is Lee Tucker. I represent the applicant, in this case, Brand Properties. A little bit of background about myself. I grew up at 1379 Janmar Road. That'll be a familiar street to many of you in this room. I went to Glen Oaks Elementary, Five Forks Middle School, and graduated from Brookwood High School. My mom was on the initial faculty here. She taught English for a number of years and ended in administration. So I am intimately familiar with your community. I live in Norcross now. But intimately familiar with this community, spent a lot of good times. You know, as Joe was showing you kind of the site plan and the stream buffers through there, I was thinking fondly of my childhood when we used to play in we called it the Big Creek at the time. I don't know if that's still what it's referred to now that it flows through Bridgewater and Waterford Township and things like that. When I was growing up out here, as many of you probably will recall, Scenic Highway was a 2-lane road. There were pastures on both sides, horse farms. You could run up and down from Snellville to Lawrenceville 55 miles an hour without much traffic. Obviously, things are a lot different now. Ronald Reagan didn't exist. The new schools in the Brookwood cluster, which I include as Brookwood Elementary, didn't exist at that time. And that was, you know, less than 30 years ago. So as many of you are aware, and many of us, and the education here is fantastic. The community support in the Brookwood district, fantastic, and I can see why it's still alive and well, and why Brookwood still does so well in all its endeavors, both academic and extracurricular. It's just a fantastic place, and I have a lot of pride in being a part of that over the years. But I know y'all don't want to hear me reminisce about my childhood. So what we're here for is to open the door. Hope we can have a communication. With this number of folks, obviously it's difficult to have a proactive conversation. We certainly hope we can provide you information. We certainly hope we can answer questions. But to that end, and to the extent we aren't able to reach you, we will determine, I guess, with our hosts, the best manner of communication. I'm happy to give folks an email address. I'm happy to correspond through the website. So we'll, I guess, determine the best means to get the most information disseminated to the broadest number of people, and then we will engage in that. Appreciate your being here. And again, we hope that if nothing else, this will be a great exercise in kind of what a community is about and what development can be about. Brand Morgan, who is here with me, is the CEO of the developer. Brand is also born and raised in Gwinnett County, got a lot of family roots here, very active in the community civically, though he's from Lawrenceville, and I consider myself from Snellville, but that beside the case, I'm proud to represent him, proud to represent his project. And what we thought we would do is let Brand give you an overview of his company. I'm sure many of you have probably seen the rezoning application, so I don't want to waste a lot of time going through that, though we are happy to answer questions about it to the extent we have the time to do so. But again, thank you all for being here. I'm easy to get in touch with, happy to talk to you, and I've seen several friends here. Hope to meet many of you that I don't know. But again, thanks for being here, and let me hand off to Brand Morgan.
Thank you. Well, before I tell you all about our application and a little bit about our company, Ron mentioned 30 years ago, and I'll tell you 30 years ago, I was on the Lawrenceville Rec football team, and the mayor of Lawrenceville, Rex Millsaps, was my coach. And we came over to Brookwood, and we got our fannies handed to us. And over 30 years, that hasn't changed. Brookwood is still kicking the fannies off most of the rec leagues, and so I got to give it to y'all. It's an honor to be here at one of the best football teams in the state of Georgia. Like Lee pointed out, my family's been here in Gwinnett County for 105 years. If you know a Brand in the community, whether you like it or not, I'm probably related to them. I want to thank y'all for coming here tonight. This is the biggest meeting I've had when it comes to one of my zonings, and I want to thank you because my goal tonight is to eliminate any uncertainty about what we're going to accomplish. We are going to eliminate anyone's concern, and with y'all not being here tonight, you're not going to be able to let me at least tell you the facts, and then once you know the facts, y'all can take those home and make your own decision about whether or not this is something you want in your community. Let me show you, first of all, a couple of our developments, because you're not going to understand what I do for a living unless you see what I actually have put in the ground, and we're darn proud of it. So let me start with there. At the top, in the middle, we have our overlook at Gwinnett Stadium. Every year that it's been built, it's gotten the best residential leased community in Gwinnett County. The second development, or the last one on here is One Sugarloaf Center. We delivered that building in 2006, and every year that it's been on the ground, it's received the best office building in Gwinnett County. A lot of developers probably aren't brave enough to come to Snellville and make the application, which I did, because they may face a crowd of people like this. But I can tell you, in the event I can get you comfortable with the product that we're going to put on the ground, it will be the best residential development in Snellville, and I can guarantee you that. If you go to the next slide, the Gwinnett minor league baseball stadium, the Atlanta Braves affiliate, AAA, they came to Gwinnett County. I was one of multiple people who went to Gwinnett County and said, listen, trust me, I've always done what I've said I'm going to do, and I'd like to have my property be the home team or the home field for the Braves. We got it, we convinced them that was the right thing. Currently, if you go out there today, we have 206 of the nicest residential flats going up in Gwinnett County. Gwinnett has made a $65 million investment, and they've let one person stand right next to them and build a residential community that is going to be for lease, and that's me. If we can go to the next slide. The site that we've here to talk about is directly behind the Best Buy, right off Scenic Highway. When I look for an outstanding apartment community, we want to be where the activity is. Snellville, like Ron pointed out, is changing, and it's becoming more urban. And what we are going to hopefully bring to your community is a community where the young executives who currently don't have a place to live, the doctors, the nurses, the young executives that are currently going over to, quite frankly, our other developments at Sugarloaf and at the Mall of Georgia and at the Gwinnett Braves Stadium, that they stay here in your community. Y'all produce some of the best scholars in Gwinnett County out of Brookwood, and you're losing them. They're not coming here because they're not able to find, they're not a low-income individual. They're an individual that is not prepared for whatever reason. They're younger and they don't want to settle down and buy a home. What we're going to offer to them is the highest residential lease community probably in South Gwinnett County. Let me tell you one thing. We did a little study this afternoon. There are 137 homes in the Brookwood School District for lease right now that are 3 bedrooms that are lower than what I will be charging for these units. So if you're concerned, and again, I'm trying, obviously I have a platform and I'd love you to come my way after this night, but if your concern is we are going to be the low-cost provider to enable families to come into your district, you're absolutely wrong. We'll have 7% of our units will be 3 bedrooms. That's 17 different units will be 3 bedrooms, and they will be more expensive than approximately 140 units, residences right now, that a renter could go to in order to come into your community and be a part of it. So that's not our goal. We do not want that to be the case. This is our site plan. We have 10 buildings. We have state-of-the-art amenities. You really, don't take my word for it. I'd love for you to travel to the Highlands at Gwinnett Stadium, travel to the Overlook, travel to the one under construction at Sugarloaf. If you, and Hunter, Tommy, I don't want to speak for you, but the fillet of Gwinnett County, according to a lot, is Sugarloaf and 85. That is where a lot of the commerce and a lot of the NCRs and the Pri-Americas are going for a lot of reasons. Gwinnett County would not let Brand Properties come into that area of Gwinnett County and put 390 units, which are under construction right now, unless it's the absolute nicest any developer is going to put on the ground. So my point is, I would love to clear up any questions. I'm not here to convince y'all that this is something y'all want. I'm here to hopefully answer some of your questions and eliminate any uncertainty. And again, thank y'all for being here.
So Ron, I'm not sure, how do you envision the Q&A portion would work? Sure.
If anyone has questions, please come to the podium. The pretty young lady in the red top here is working on getting it going, and I'll turn it over to her in just a second. That's Brenda Lee. Incidentally, I was informed that I did not introduce myself. My name is Ron Weber. I think most of you here know me, but I'm the owner of Buck's Pizza, and I'm just a huge advocate of the Brookwood School Cluster.
And you're locally famous.
and oh, I'm sorry. Brenda's got questions.
42 years.
Thank you for coming. My name is Bill Boswell. You asked my first question. My second, what type of funding is projected? Is it all private, or is there any state or federal funding involved?
This is all private. All we do is Class A multifamily, and it's all private. Absolutely no subsidies. It's going to be the highest we can build.
So there's no tax credits involved?
Absolutely no financing or subsidy at all. We're going to put every dollar is going to be mine, and the return on that dollar I get, not the government.
But I'm saying you're not applying for any tax credits, right?
No, sir.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boswell.
I'm John Rutledge. I'm a parent, Brookwood Schools Foundation member. I'm John Rutledge. I'm on the Brookwood Schools Foundation. I'm on the school council for Artie Head, which is outside my community of River Mist. I'm part of the county, not part of the Snellville city proper. My question is, what is the benefit to the community that will be realized by putting the nicest apartment complex in South Gwinnett, which if you had mentioned that the other builders had fear of coming here and facing these folks, because there aren't a lot of apartment communities in this area, and the impact to traffic and services in the area that will be created with multiple families versus single family homes.
Thanks for your question, Mr. Rutledge. I'll take that. I think that there are several reasons why a developer, and my client in particular, would be interested in building an area like this. One is the intensity of the development along 124. Candidly, this is an infill site that abuts and transitions from a commercial corridor to a lower density residential. I think it's a perfect infill site. If you're looking at land planning, and reasonable people can disagree obviously about whether or not this is what should go here in this site. But if you look at the map and you look at the city's future maps, and you pick out this site and you see what's existing developed around it and what's existing developed behind it, it's a perfect infill site. The other reason why this is attractive, and Brandon and I have discussed this, is because the demographics out here. I mean, Brand is not looking for the lowest common denominator. He is looking for the highest quality. That's why you have projects in Buford, in Sugarloaf, and hopefully in Snellville. So it's an attractive community. And then, you know, notwithstanding the changing of the population age-wise and preference-wise, and with respect to where folks work and don't work, there are a lot of good reasons.
My question, though, was, what's the benefit to the community, not why it's attractive to you as a developer?
Well, the benefit to the community, among other things, is that it'll enhance the tax base. There'll be a substantial investment. It's undeveloped today. It'll offer an amenity for folks who maybe don't want to have a single-family house, like what's in Waterford Township, or what's in Bridgewater, or what's in Dogwood Plantation, or what's in any of the other neighborhoods around here, which are all great. But it's what's in it for the community is an opportunity to have diversity of housing.
I'm Catherine Coker, and I am a grandmother, and I live in this area, and I am a retired school teacher. And I know, Mr. Tucker, your other developments very well, and they are spectacular. The difference with those specifically, as what we are concerned about, is the academic standing of the Brookwood cluster, because that is the base, both of you know, of our property values, of our quality of life. My concern is that where your other properties are located, there was plenty of land, and in fact, Gwinnett County School Systems had land that they were building new clusters. Now, if you could tell us with this other group that you were willing to put the money up and magically find land within the parameters of the Brookwood cluster or just on the outskirts, and you were willing to donate land for a new cluster of schools, I don't think one of us would be here. But our schools are our heart, and you both know that ever so well. Now, the quality of the subdivision, of the apartments that you're talking about, I have no doubt will be the very highest. But the density cannot enhance this area. Borderline developments that exist today, I'm just saying, Flowers Crossing, et cetera, people who have worked hard and have bought their homes and paid a lot of money for these homes have done so because it's the Brookwood cluster. They are the very ones, gentlemen, that perhaps you haven't thought about it. They are the ones who will have to be redistricted, because our cluster today cannot, my dear people, handle 500 new apartment units.
Thank you. I appreciate Ms. Coker's comments, and they're true. But I would say that with respect to the school children generation, you know, there are, and I'm not going to debate facts and not facts with you, but I believe that you will see that there is capacity. Brookwood's overcrowded. A lot of the other schools are overcrowded. However, there's capacity in the elementary school, and not only that, this is not a school children generating operation. But I understand reasonable people can disagree.
We understand that the sound is not getting to the back there. If Mr. Googe could come help us, or we're going to have to put on, use our outside voices.
Brenda, it's the speaker's here. It's a portable speaker. What I'm going to ask is that the applicants repeat the question once it's asked.
Sure.
Can you do that?
Sure. Ms. Catherine Coker asked a question about school capacity, school overcrowding, impact of this development on the school capacity and school overcrowding. And what I would say is that is a reasonable discussion to have. I think that the facts will be what the facts will be. There are metrics that reflect school children generation and project that. I think that will be a part of the presentation from the city of Snellville when the planning department has the opportunity to put a professional review on this. So what I would say in deference to the question is we think that the facts will speak for themselves, and then reasonable people can consider those facts. I don't have the number. What I can tell you is that we have experience in the existing projects, which are in the Collins Hill cluster and in the Peachtree Ridge cluster, and we have a good idea about what type of generation of school children comes out of those projects, but that's certainly something that reasonable people can talk about. So.
Thank you, sir. The gentleman here in the plaid shirt will be the last question. If you could get to your question relatively quickly. We are going to have another question and answer session after all the two developers finish. It's in your agenda. So if y'all will be patient, we will do our best to get to you. You can also sign a card or ask the question on a card, and we'll try to answer it on Facebook. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Karen Steimer, and I'm also a school bus driver here for the Brookwood District. I'd like to know, there's only a couple entrances and exits to that piece of land. 124 Tree Lane, Ronald Reagan Parkway. Have you ever been on one of those in the weekend? They are so overcrowded now. How do you propose to add another 2,000 cars a day to those roads? We don't want to have to sit in traffic construction for the next 5 years trying to get new land for new streets.
That's a fair point. Ms. Farmer's question deals with traffic generation and how do we propose to deal with the anticipated increase of traffic on the transportation infrastructure, particularly Tree Lane and the Highway 124 intersection. And what I would say to that is, again, the facts will speak for that. And I'm not going to stand up here and mislead you. Many of you know I'm a straight shooter. There will be traffic increase due to this development. However, the travel times and the trip generation and things of that nature are all things that can be formulated. And again, those facts will be a part, I presume, of the city's analysis. We may or may not agree with the way that they're calculated. They may or may not agree with what we have to say, but our plans relative to the generation of trips will be to, one, determine the facts, and two, address the infrastructure improvements that would be necessitated by virtue of that trip generation.
Thank you.
I am Buddy Hoffman, and I have some grandkids that go to Brookwood Elementary, and we have lived in the community for a good while. I'm glad that you had the opportunity to grow up in Brookwood, and you do know that it's a great community, and one of the things that makes the community great is the schools, and I'm sure you would agree to that.
Absolutely.
I would like my kids to have the same kind of opportunity that you had in growing up in a community that wasn't, have you checked to see what the teacher-student ratio is at Brookwood Elementary right now?
I'm not familiar with the student-teacher ratio there, no.
Well, we have a lot of teachers there, and they're overcrowded, and they haven't space. And I suppose my question is, and listen, I believe in free enterprise. I'm glad that you're making money off of these other places who actually have better access to the main thoroughfares of 85 and Sugarloaf than we do. But the real question I have is this. In this room, I don't want you to misunderstand something. Snellville and its residents and the residents around here, they're pretty kind people. They're not going to stand up and scream and yell and tell you what kind of evil people you are. That's just not the kind of community we have. But what the kindness and the lack of rudeness should not be misconstrued. If you're here and our council members over here, I know they can't respond to this, but if you're here and they vote to approve this, and you will do everything in your power to make sure they don't get elected again, I would like to see you stand.
Okay, everyone please. The town council is here in support of the process. They have not made any decisions. They have not indicated anything one way or the other. If you want to, please keep it civil, okay? They've done nothing wrong yet. So, I know them, they're good people. Buddy, your point is well taken, and there's a lot of people that feel that way, but let's let that be unsaid, okay?
Thank you. That's okay. Can you hear me? Yep. So I don't know what's going on here.
You want me to go ahead and go?
We've got
Try not to touch it. See if it works.
Can you hear me all right? So the question there from Mr. Hoffman, as I understood it, was relating to the impact of multifamily in a school district. And I would respectfully suggest to you that multifamily does not necessarily in and of itself negatively impact the school district. I live in Norcross. There's apartments right there. Norcross High School is a great school. Reasonable people can disagree, but with all due respect, I think that having a mix of housing options adds to the vitality of a community. Yes, sir.
My name is Randy Nason. I've been in the community for 25 years. I've had 3 kids come through the Brookwood cluster. I have one that's a senior now, and it's been a great community. The education's been phenomenal. My question is this, and it might actually go to the city council as well, maybe more so than yourself, but you need to hear it. If we allow to the city council, and I don't know if we have somebody who can represent them and speak on their behalf, but if we allow this cluster, this multifamily units to come in, what I've seen in other communities, and I can go through the high schools in Gwinnett, is what follows it. It continues. It snowballs. And you get one, and all of a sudden you got 2, 3, 4, and by then you've torn away the fabric of the community with the good education and what we stand for. So that's my question. I don't know if you can answer that, if the city council should answer that, but that's a concern that I have as a resident here in this community.
Mr. Mason's question was how do we, and I don't think the city, I mean, I'm not representing the city, but I suspect that were their counsel here, and I don't believe that Mr. Powell's here, but were he here, I would expect that he would advise them not to speak in this forum. Though I'm sure they have opinions on it and would be happy to discuss it offline with you. I think that the true answer is reasonable people can disagree over whether or not multifamily is a negative in and of itself for a community. I think implicit in the question is the assumption that it will negatively impact your school. And I think that there is a lot of evidence in the Gwinnett County Public School System that would show you in similarly situated environments, like the Brookwood cluster, that that's not been the case. But your positions, I mean, you're certainly entitled to have your position and have that concern. I don't blame you. It's a great school.
Hi. Yes, good evening. My name's Susan Coe. I'm going to keep it kind of simple for you and actually ask you some questions about your project.
Sure.
I am one of those professionals that grew up here through the Brookwood cluster, came back to this to make this my family's home because I wanted my children to have the same experience and opportunities that I had. The question that I have for you is you made two statements. First of all, you mentioned you would only have 7% three-bedroom units. How many two-bedroom units will you have? And the second part of my question is, you promised me that you are going to make high-end quality apartments for professionals. However, your application clearly states that you're intending an affordable apartment community. How do you reconcile that?
Well, I think that, I don't know that, well, first of all, Ms. Coe's question was, what is the percentage of two-bedroom units and the breakdown? I'll give you the breakdown there. And then two, when you talk about affordable, what do you mean? With respect to the apartment mix, it'd be roughly 43% one-bedroom, 50% two-bedroom, and as noted earlier, 7% three-bedroom. So that's the mix we're proposing. With respect to affordable, that is affordable in the sense of it is an option. It is not necessarily intended to connotate negative. I mean, affordable is what it is. It's a housing option that's affordable. We think the rents here will be higher, as Mr. Morgan indicated. The pro forma rents are higher than the houses that are for rent in this community today.
And I'm sorry, just to follow up, so then what is your rental rate anticipated to be?
We're on average $1,100. It goes from $1,400 per month down to $1,000 a month, on average, $1,150.
My name is Mehul Patel. I recently moved to this community.
I'll try to repeat. They're speaking into a mic. I'll okay.
All right, everybody hear me? All right. My name is Mehul Patel. I recently moved here. My one question that you guys have, you said you're going to help building these two communities by helping 500 families estimated. But my question is, by bringing these communities, there are 1,000 people sitting here, there are 1,000 families right here sitting in front of us. Aren't they going to be hurt? Also, the second question you have, you said this developer right here is bringing communities around Gwinnett area, but have you thought after you're bringing the community in the area, did you ever go back and look at the crime rate? What did happen around the communities? I don't think you've done that study yet. So I think you need to go back and study those. And I suggest everyone needs to go and study those crime rates around where they develop these communities. Thank you.
I think you probably heard Mr. Patel's question, or rather his statement. I would say we're happy for y'all to go due diligence, crime rates around anything Mr. Morgan's built.
Hi, can everybody hear me? My name is Jim.
I think we need to abandon that microphone, Brenda.
Try not to touch the microphone.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me now? Thank you. My name is Jim Trainer. I recently just moved here from California. I've been here about a year now. I have a couple of questions. I've seen large developments with Hortons and a few other developers in California. First of all, when you're building multi-units, and we're talking about 500 units going in, we're talking apartments now. Now, we're also talking, when you do the math, the average household is about 4 to 5 people. That's over 2,500 people coming into the community. There's impact on the school system, there's impact on the traffic, and there's also, when you bring apartment dwellers, impact on crime. Now, that's putting it aside, but let's go to your situation that you can control. The infrastructure that you're bringing into the city, you're only bringing developments to build high-end apartments, so say. You can't even get a decent place less than $1,100, I don't care where you go. That's that's minuscule. So secondly, what are you doing for the community with the infrastructure? Most large corporations, you have 2 corporations here that are coming in building houses, townhomes, or apartments. They usually bring infrastructure. They build parks, they build schools, you're only talking about building some apartments. You're not talking about bringing infrastructure. You're not talking about soccer fields. You're not talking about baseball fields. You're not talking about something that's going to enhance the community. I need to know what your plans are on bringing that in. I, too, am a citizen of Snellville.
With respect to the average household size, I think the average household in Snellville is less than 3 per house. I think that with respect to the age, that maybe the city website and the comprehensive plan is incorrect in that regard. But with respect to that, I think the demographics, age-wise and otherwise, in this community are changing. The community is evolving, and we think this is a good use. With respect to the impact, certainly any development has impact, and it would be the developer's obligation to mitigate those impacts relative to infrastructure and other things as a part of the development process.
Okay. Okay. Can you all hear me in the back? Okay. I live in the Woodlands. You know where that is?
I do. I know Jim DeRoe development.
Okay. So my first question is really simple. From what we know, currently there are no plans to build on the property that backs up into the Woodlands, which is the Williams property. That's what we know. What do you know? That's my first question, okay? Because that would greatly impact the Woodlands. Every person I know who lives there loves the subdivision. Number 2, Mr. Morgan, okay? You said that you're planning to provide a place for young professionals and doctors from Eastside to move into. My question is, have you done a survey at Eastside? And if so, what percentage of the employees at Eastside are actually looking for a place to live? Second part of that question, I'm gonna start it with an assumption, okay? My assumption is that you won't have enough employees from Eastside to purchase these homes. So the second question is, where are you planning to draw from for the other professionals that you mentioned? Okay? Last question. You with me?
I got you.
Okay. All right. You know, I'm kind of to be honest, a little mixed up on this one, but here it is. Will you have a cap on the number of residents who can go into a 3-bedroom apartment? How do you monitor that? You can't tell somebody that their cousin whose home was just burned down can't come and live with them. How do you put a cap on that? You can't. And so, that being said, when you look at the cost, the price of the rent, from $1,100 to $1,400 with a 3-bedroom apartment, which is only 7%, and I thought it really interesting that that was the only one that you mentioned. You didn't mention the 2-bedroom. You didn't mention the 1-bedroom. So when you're talking about, well, you just mentioned it. I'm sorry, you did mention it when someone asked you to mention it. But, so my question is, you're talking about X number of units, 43% 1-bedroom, 50% 2-bedroom, 7% 3-bedroom. When you look at how many people will live, I'm talking eating, breathing, sleeping people, will actually live in those units, what do you foresee as the total number of people who will live there? Monique.
Ms. Monique had several questions in there. One, I'm familiar with Williams property, but I'm not aware of any development plans for that property. I don't have any involvement with that, and to my knowledge, Mr. Morgan doesn't either. With respect to the employees at Eastside, I would say that we were using that as an example. I think that you will see, because it's a good example, but I think you'll see if you look at the city's materials that you have a very migratory population with respect to where people live and where people work. And those are facts in the city's own information. And so what we are suggesting is that this is a possibility to house folks in close proximity to their jobs, wherever they may be, whether it's at Emory Eastside, because that's an example, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a fireman, whether it's a police officer, whether it's anybody else that doesn't want to have a yard. And with respect to the last question on number of bodies, the Federal Fair Housing Act deals with that. There are certainly questions you can and cannot ask, and I would say rhetorically, the same thing would apply to a home.
I just want to ask you, will you please do a survey of all of the places that you plan to draw from? Give us that information. Let us know who are you planning on selling these homes to. Do a survey. If it's teachers, do a survey of the teachers. If it's Eastside Medical, do a survey. Just give us the information.
I don't know that information is ascertainable. This microphone's. See, I've messed it up again. There we go. Sorry.
It's okay, I'm short. My name is Jamie Winfrey. I went straight through the Brookwood cluster. My husband went to Brookwood Elementary. We met at Five Forks Middle School. We both graduated from Brookwood High School. And when we were married, we came back here and we purchased our home long before we had children, because we specifically wanted our children to go to Brookwood Elementary. I also am the co-chair of the school council at Brookwood Elementary, so I know exactly what is going on in terms of population, what Brookwood is trying to do. And part of what makes Brookwood, I would say, in the top 2 things that make Brookwood Elementary so fantastic, is that there are dozens of parents in the school every day. Now, several people have asked the question, from whence are you drawing? And I would gather to say that there have been a number of questions about what research have you done other than the amount of money you are going to make from building this property. And I would say I haven't heard an answer to one of those questions. So that's my first question is, what research have you done in terms of where these people are coming from, how many people are gonna live there, et cetera, et cetera? Because honestly, I don't know how many people in this room, but every person in this room just wants an answer. And if you can't give us the answers, by God, please go get them. Because a lot of people would be a lot less angry if we had the information. Okay, second part of my question. I taught at Shiloh High School for many years. I was there before the transient population became an issue, and I was there for many years after. I was cussed out, I had books thrown at me, I had desks thrown at me, I have been in more discipline panels than you can possibly count. I watched it happen with my own eyes. And I have heard the phrase reasonable people about 42 times here, and I want to know what that means. Because I consider myself a reasonable person, but I have seen what apartments do to a community. And the reality is, you cannot dictate who comes in there other than who's going to write you a check for a deposit. So my second question is, a statement first. If you would like to know what the Brookwood cluster would look like after you build this development, please, after this meeting, get in your car and drive straight across 78 into the 30039, what do you call it? Area code. Not area code, zip code. Drive into 30039. That is what it will look like. And the last question I'm drawing from Ms. Coker's question, because I don't believe it was answered as well. The question was, how are you going to benefit, or I would ask the question a little differently, how are you not going to injure those of us, like myself, who came here? I'm sorry that the people in South and Central and Shiloh and other places did not do their homework and figure out what kind of school system they were going into. I did my homework. I did my homework by growing up here, and I did my homework because I looked at the school system and how good they were. So what are you going to do to prevent injury to me and my fellow Snellville citizens who did our homework, purchased our homes here for a specific reason to go to these schools that have not been negatively impacted like these other areas, such as 30039?
Well, Ms. Winfrey, the research that my client has done is his ordinary due diligence with respect to any investment he would make. I would submit to you that within a relatively small number of folks, if he's able to construct this development, he will have an investment in this community that is substantially more than most in this community. And that is not to denigrate anybody else's investment in this community. All I'm saying is, with respect to the demographics, with respect to the market analysis, with respect to putting one's own capital at risk, my client believes this is a good investment. So it is difficult to answer the unanswerable question, where do your people come from?
Sir, you just repeated my question, which was...
No, I just answered your question, ma'am, with all due respect. I answered your question to say that my client has done due diligence with respect to the development and his investment in this community. I'm sorry that's not the answer you want, but that's the answer to the question.
That he's going to make money from the project. That's your answer?
My client is going to put substantial capital at risk, yes. Yes, that's what's called capitalism, yes. Yes, sir.
I've got two kids, Michael and Stephanie. They went through Brookwood Elementary all the way through Brookwood High School, and they both graduated Brookwood High School. I own 2 homes on Tree Lane. My problem is 2 things. One is the density and also the type of development, which is apartments. Renters do not care about property, the quality of property. Most renters do not, okay? I do own rental property, and I'm speaking from experience. Most renters do not care. Some do, but most do not. For an example, when we rent a car, when did any of us, before we turn it in, do we check the oil? Well, we don't care. It's a rental car, you know? The density. I mean, we're talking about, with both developments, 500 units. If each person has a car, that's 1,000 more cars on Tree Lane. I own 2 homes on Tree Lane. We've got enough traffic on Tree Lane as it is. I mean, for an example, my household, there's 4 of us, and we've got 4 cars. So typically, everyone has a car. So that's 1,000 more cars on Tree Lane. I'm just against the density and the type of. If it was single-family homes, hey, go for it. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bartulo. I would just submit to you that much like you care for your property and much like you deal with your renters, a person who makes a similar investment would do that, and it's the obligation of the owner of the property to maintain the property. And very fair point, as I've indicated earlier, with respect to Tree Lane and the traffic infrastructure. Reasonable people, which I would characterize maybe not as me and maybe not as others, but as the vast majority of you in here, can make an informed decision based on the facts, and can make an informed decision and exercise your right to talk about this project, the other project, and again, with respect to this project, it's kind of unfortunate, or maybe it's fortunate for y'all because you can consider two at once. But with respect to what my client is doing, it's 252 units on roughly 30 acres that is currently zoned for general commercial uses, and is encumbered with streams which have to be buffered in very close proximity to a major intersection on Scenic Highway, which, as you know, is a multi-lane in each direction divided highway. Similar, I would submit to you, to Highway 20 up near Buford at the Gwinnett Braves Stadium. Similar, I would submit to you, to Sugarloaf Parkway near its intersection with Satellite Boulevard, which are two great examples of projects that my client is currently involved with. For our part, again, we appreciate you being here. It is certainly a testimony to the Brookwood community and your investment in this community. Your concerns are legitimate, and certainly don't let anything that I've said intimate to you that I think otherwise. I appreciate y'all being here, and we are happy to answer questions. Tonight's probably not the forum for that further questioning just because of the volume of people here, but with Ron and folks, we will make ourselves available and or be happy to answer any communication. So again, thank you for your time. We'll let the next folks go, but appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate you. Now, here we go again. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for being patient. The next presenter represents Linwood Property, and it's Marion Adami. Adami? Okay. And I want to remind everybody, these people are representing other people, and it's their jobs. Like the town council, they're doing their jobs, okay? It's not like they're trying to maliciously come in and destroy anything. They're simply working for someone doing what they're supposed to do. And she's going to present the Linwood properties now. And Marion, are you ready?
Good evening. My name is Marion Adami. I'm with Anderson, Tate & Carr, and I represent Linwood Development. Woody Snell is here. He is the developer with Linwood Development. He has over 20 years experience, and we are both very happy to be here. Thank you for your time tonight, and I will try to be brief and certainly allow for any questions. As Joe said, our site is unique in the fact that it is already zoned for residential uses. Our site has been residential for some time. You all may recall Surrey Farms. It was a single-family subdivision at one point, or proposed. And it was rezoned in '08 for senior housing, which included 68 duplex homes with garages. It included assisted living, a nursing home, 50,000 square feet of office, all of which require staffing, visitors, certainly patrons of the medical offices, and a total of 799 units. Linwood is proposing a high-end, master-planned residential community. It will be made up of a total of 399 units, which includes 60 single-family homes, 68 brownstones, and 271 professional and senior garden units. 60% of the 271 units will be one bedroom. All of these units, all of the homes, all of the brownstones will be marketed to professionals, empty nesters, and seniors looking to live in the area. We've gotten the question over and over again about if it's already zoned for senior living, why are you seeking a rezoning? And some of you may be familiar, we've seen it in Johns Creek, we've seen it in Suwanee. Young and single professionals, seniors, they're looking to come back to their communities. Some of you said you found that opportunity, whether you're renting a home or bought a home, but there are many, both in Johns Creek and Suwanee, two great examples of an opportunity to master plan residential areas for those individuals to live. I'm from Gwinnett. I was educated in Gwinnett schools. We certainly appreciate and respect how much pride you have in your schools. I've seen that. I'm an effect of it. It's a great system. And I can tell from all of you here, whether you live in the city limits or not, that you really appreciate your community. And that is a great example of why there's such an excellent economic potential here. Why you've got two very well-respected developers who want to invest in your area. It should come as no surprise to you that these factors make this property appealing, but certainly our property has historically been a transitional residential use for that reason. It is between the commercial and your existing subdivisions, and it's something that could really serve as a gateway to the city of Snellville. We can debate traffic in schools, and I'm happy to answer these questions, and I'm sure we will discuss that at public hearings. But at the end of the day, whether or not you agree with the word apartment, it behooves everyone to give the city an opportunity to look at this economic investment and to say what you want Snellville to look like in the future. This is an opportunity to let that growth be master planned, and again, our residential development is a master community, and I'll discuss that more, but this is also an opportunity to determine what that looks like and whether or not you'll allow growth at all. The zoning request by Linwood isn't an exercise. We're not here for show. If senior mixed residential community was possible here, if it was viable, they would have started building. We wouldn't be here before you today. But since 2008, you're all aware that economics have changed, the marketing scene has changed, and the developers have to come forward with real financing, with real money to do a development at this level, to do a quality, high-end master community. We're not taking financial kickbacks. This isn't something where the developer's looking for tax breaks. This is financed. It's fully private funds that are being used. And developers can't just speculatively look at things anymore. You have to have a plan, and this developer is ready to invest in your community. Someone asked about the ability to govern the occupants of the community, and again, we're talking about 60 single-family homes, 68 brownstones, and 271 units, 60% of which are one bedroom. This is the most successful combination of mixed uses, and we wouldn't be here if we didn't think so. And you say apartments, and it's a dirty word, I understand it's a scary word, but you're talking about condos that are being leased by professionals, who want to rent. They're renters by choice. Whether you agree with the mixture of housing or not, those are the things that are being weighed by your council and by your city. This is an opportunity for Snellville to welcome growth in the form of a master plan community with mixed uses, or it's an opportunity to say that Snellville is just not choosing to grow that way, and we certainly respect that. But we see an investment here, we see an ownership, and this is not a community that's full of renters. These associations would govern all three portions of our development, and all three portions would be equal members in that association, and so it's a unique opportunity. It's something that really hasn't been done before, and I would suggest that you go look at Suwanee, you look at Johns Creek, at the Oaks, you look at West Village, and you see what those developments have done for those areas. It's, again, just something that it's hard to picture And it seems, in this case, to be a density question. And what we're telling you is that we're reducing density and we're investing more money into this development. And it's an opportunity, again, for a unique gateway to Snellville. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is that on? Can you hear me? If you're going to ask questions, we're going to get you to come around here because of the podium over here.
Sorry, folks, people in the back can't hear. We have way more people than we thought. If you would come over here to Brenda, please. And I would like to ask you, if the question has already been posed, please let's not ask it again. I'd also like to state that we are on a time limit, and SOS would like to present their side of it too once these people are done. After, once we get through all these questions, SOSnellville would like to present our side of it, and there will be another question and answer after that. First question, Brenda, let's get it going.
Okay, my first question is that you said 60% of the apartments is one bedroom. What's the ratio for the other bedroom sizes? What's the ratio of the other bedroom sizes? Yeah.
It's also hello. It's also 30% two bedroom and 10% one bedroom, three.
Let me make sure. You said there was no tax credits involved with the program? Okay, is there any set aside for Section 8? Okay, and what is the price range of the rentals?
The one bedrooms start around 1,000, and three bedrooms could easily be 14 and higher.
Thank you.
Folks, in the interest of time, and I'm sorry, there will be another question and answer period. Please limit yourself to one question. There'll be more opportunities in a little while. But there is another side to be presented tonight. SOS is presenting, so we're running out of time. We need to get to it.
Just to respond to a couple of her comments real quick, we hope that we continue to have a discussion about traffic in schools. We certainly want to, we're willing to, we're happy to continue having questions and answering those or trying to, and what I meant was that discussion will certainly continue to beyond tonight. She'd asked about activities, and I wanted to bring up a good point. We're proposing at least 3 community parks and open spaces in our community. Those are going to be amenity centers that include pools, open spaces that may include dog parks. These are intended to be walkable communities, again, with a master association that will govern those amenities. So they're going to start high end, they're going to remain high end, and that is how we're marketing these. So that's one of the primary goals of this community. And in terms of seniors, not to insult anyone here, I think that's a very broad term. I think there's a lot of people that may be empty nesters and looking to downsize, and we certainly want to market to those folks. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Valita Florin, and all I want to say is a couple of things. I have a daughter that lives near West Village. She lives behind it. She owns her home. She doesn't pay rent. And she chose to go there because she wanted to pay taxes, because she wanted good school systems. And then I have another daughter, both are professionals. This one's an RN, and she lives in Buckhead. Both girls have said, I will never come live in Gwinnett while I'm young because it's not a fun place to come back to. I would come back to raise my children. They would buy a house because houses, you pay real estate taxes and school taxes. If you buy an apartment, last I owned an had an apartment, it was in college, and we didn't pay any school taxes. So how is that going to help our school system if they're rentals That's not going to help bring any money in to help our schools. We're what helps the schools because we pay our taxes. And I don't think it's going to help to have apartments fund any of that because they won't be funding the school taxes. Is that correct or not correct?
That's not actually correct. So all property owners pay taxes, and an apartment community actually is valued more, so they pay more taxes than a single-family homeowner.
But not the actual renters.
The renters pay rent, which certainly goes towards paying the taxes for the owner, and that's why, again, this is a balance of single-family townhomes like West Village, and then of course the rentable units, because all of those property owners are paying taxes, and those are going directly back into your school system.
But if they're not paying it individually, then that isn't really, they're not feeling it. They don't actually feel what we feel as far as the ownership of the schools, correct?
Well, you made another good point. You said your daughters don't want to come back here because it's not fun, there's nothing to do. I think that says a lot about what Snellville needs. It's too bad. It's too bad that your children graduate from college and don't want to come back to such an amazing community. I mean, there's so much potential for people to come here and invest in the town center and to make this a fun, exciting place to live, and that's what we want to contribute to.
But they want to come back to raise their kids. That's the difference.
Hi, I'm Roy Holman. I live about a mile from here and raised 4 daughters in this district. And I love capitalism. You folks are here to promote your investment. We're here to protect ours. I grew up in South Florida, and that's an area that is big on impact fees. In other words, if a developer comes in and they want to build something, they study the impact on the roads, the impact on the schools. And in order for the project to be approved, they have to foot their fair share. So my question would be, dear, what is your group, what roads are they going to build? What schools are they going to build? Because somebody touched on density. Okay?
I think someone mentioned it earlier, but a developer is responsible for all of the infrastructure on their site. They're responsible for all of the taxes on their land. And so neither of those things will go away. Whoever develops this, those are going to be two things that come with the property, come with the territory. We're not afraid of that investment. This is a $90 million development that we're proposing. We want to invest in your community. That's not a small number. That's a serious investment, and they're ready to put it into this property. Thanks.
Folks, I'm very sorry. We need to lop off questions. There will be question and answers in a few minutes, but we have a time limit, and there are other presenters. So I'm very sorry, but as I watch the line, people just keep getting into it. So you will have opportunities in a few minutes, but we do have a program. We have to be out of here at a certain time.
I just want you all to think of your community associations and imagine a very unique development, again, with the same association, the same ownership, the same amount of caring and investment into this community. And this is, again, a unique opportunity for Snellville. We really want to contribute to some of the goals in the comprehensive plan, and it's not something you've seen before. I know it's hard to wrap your head around, and we'd be happy to answer questions at any time. Thanks.
Okay, I want to thank the developers. I guess we lost the brand people. Are you still here? Okay. And Marion, Woody, I'm sorry, but I'm sure all these people want to ask you more questions, but we can't be here till midnight. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You got our contact info. Thank you.
Got it all. I moved to Atlanta in 1981. Thanks, Marion. We heard about a wonderful community called Stone Mountain up in Ohio, where we moved from. And we moved here, moved into a nice community called Hidden Hills, which is a little country club community, very similar to Summit Chase. And we loved it there. That was in 1981. 1982, they built apartments. We didn't think much of it. 1984, Redan High School, which was a national school of excellence, investigating putting metal detectors in all the doorways. We got out in 1986. 1987, on the golf course at Hidden Hills, 2 15-year-olds were shot and killed. They were killed by the golfers. It got so bad that when you golfed, you had to put a weapon in your bag. You want to look it up, it's facts. We moved to the Brookwood cluster. We have been here since 1986. We moved here because we investigated the school systems. At that time, there were a lot of good school systems. Meadow Creek was not bad. Berkmar was not bad, on a par with not on a par, there's nobody on a par with Brookwood, okay, I'm gonna say that. But they're pretty good. South High School, good. Shiloh, good. Because of lack of time, I'm going to shorten this and expand it a little bit, or shorten it and try to come to a point. SAT scores in the year 2000. I obtained this information from Gwinnett County Schools. That's about as far back as they were able to go to give me. In the year 2000, these are the SAT scores. Now, SATs are figured a little bit differently now, and so as I go forward, I'm going to show you the comparisons. But if you look at this, Brookwood was at 1074. Meadow Creek 968, Shiloh 1029, Berkmar 1016. Not that big of a variance, is there? Let's go to the next one. 2014, Berkmar has dropped to 933, Meadow Creek to 872, Shiloh to 933, Brookwood 1068. Now these are all adjusted. These are all adjusted to compare to the ratings back in 2005. We stopped doing it that way in 2005. Can I have the next slide? Keep going. I'm going to pass all this. Go ahead. Another one. I want to talk a little bit about Shiloh. For those of you who don't know, I'm very active with the schools, all schools. For 6 years, I was a member of the Shiloh Cluster Foundation, or now they call themselves the Shiloh Community Foundation. Around about the year 1998-99, apartment complex was built in the Shiloh cluster. If you remember their scores a few minutes ago, they were pretty good. Next slide, please. As you move forward, 2003, another apartment complex came in. The residents of Shiloh, and God bless them, I work so hard for their schools, and they are wonderful, and this is not to say that you cannot get a great education there, because there's a lot of smart kids coming out of Shiloh. As the apartment influence came in, people understood, and they began moving out. The crime statistics, I had a business in the city of SOSnellville. I have spoken with Gwinnett County Police, and there was an officer named Brandon Smith that said under no circumstances should you allow apartments to come in because they will bring crime. Now, I know there's a lot of studies that say nice apartments don't have this effect. I'm not willing to take that chance. I watched by 2007 as the parking lot in my business, gangs from the apartment complexes, and they're nice. You drive by, they still look pretty nice. Come through the parking lots checking doors on the cars. I watched the drug deals going on in the parking lot. I'd call the police. By the time the police show up, they leave. Shiloh is a much better place now because Gwinnett County Police have done a good job of cleaning it up. I will tell you that. It is a much better community. But they had a 9% decrease in their SAT scores. Next slide. Over that same period of time. Is 9% significant? Yes, it is. It's enough not to be able to choose the college you want to go to. I revamped the SAT scores for comparison purposes. Look at Brookwood. Do you remember back in 2000 we were on a par? We were a little bit better. But everyone was within 70, 80 points of us, correct? Look at this. There are a lot of different factors that go into the success of schools. And the argument can be made that the apartments may or may not have caused this. I say the apartments were the catalyst that created it. Now that's my opinion. My opinion. And I believe the Brookwood community needs to do what we can do to stop this. Now, we're going to talk in a few minutes about what we can do. However, when independent studies are done, they do not take into account the wonderful reputation of Brookwood. They don't take into account the fact that people, I was in a school last week, they had a stack of permissive transfers, and they have to go through, and that's people from outside wanting to come here. There are people living in the extended stay hotel down there by the hospital. They're living in a hotel so their children can go to Brookwood. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. It is, Brookwood cluster is an island that has been protected for many years. And it's an island because of our schools. Our property values are better because of our schools. My business, our businesses are better because of our schools. And I, for one, am going to fight to protect these schools. I'd like to bring up Joe Anderson now, please. Again, we're cutting this as short as we can to provide more time for questions, but Joe Anderson.
Next lesson to learn, never follow Ron Weber in speaking. And I don't have a whole lot of prepared notes or anything, but I wanted to talk about where we go, how we move forward, how we fight this thing. Chad, who spoke earlier, was spot on. It's all about the land use plan. We have the city of Snellville has an established land use plan. They need to hopefully defend that land use plan and maintain it the way it is, and this whole thing goes away. It's kind of a target-rich environment as far as the Steinberg questions, and that if you've read through the applications, and I'm not going to go through it all right now, but there's a series of 6 questions for both the land use and the rezoning. And I'm working on responses to those, and I will post those on SOSnellville for everybody to review, and I'll be sending those to the city to be part of the official record, and you guys can do that too. Now one thing I want to ask the city, and I'm not putting you on the spot here, but do y'all want to give us one email address so we don't destroy your inboxes? No, you want your inboxes destroyed? Well, okay. We'll get back to y'all on that and see. But I mean, the crowd here tonight shows the energy, the love, and y'all have been great. Thank you for being respectful to everybody, and for putting up with me. And I don't have a whole lot more to say. I will say the petition team is doing a fabulous job over here. These guys. Scott Brooks, where are you? I know you're out here. picked up over, well, maybe not, picked up over 800, up to 1,000 Snellville citizens have signed on the petition. That's just awesome. All those doors they knocked on, and Scott told me there were only 4 people that weren't interested in signing. Some people, like 20 people, wanted a little more information, but only 4 people out of the thousands, the 1,000 that they've knocked on didn't want to sign. So, at any rate, I guess I'll pass it back to. Oh, the date changes. I've got that written down somewhere because I've got the old date still in my mind. The key date is October 27th. It'll be a spooky day in Snellville right before Halloween. But that's the key date. What is the date of the Planning Commission meeting? Somebody? September 23rd. A day to remember. That Mr. Williams, raise your hand. He's the chairman of the Planning Commission, and they will hear this first. They can recommend denial or not take any action on it. I think that's the 3 things that. There's a 4th thing? Okay. He says they have to either recommend or recommend denial. I thought they could take no action. At any rate, Brenda would like a few words with you.
It's what you get.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
With the mic. There we go.
It's what you get when you're short between these 2 guys. You have to fight for it. I have to tell y'all, I am overwhelmed to see this many people come out. We did not expect that. So success, give yourselves a hand. Second, we are energized, and this is a smart group of people, and you heard the legal reasons to deny this. Take a look at it. It's boring as it could be, but you still need to know. It's like that math test you studied for. We have several forms of connecting with the community. One is SOSnellville. It's on Facebook. I'm one of the monitors. I allow a lot of discussion, but I will not tolerate hecklers. And thank you for conducting yourselves in the manner that I am proud to be next to here tonight. We also have a website called SOSnellville.com where we are trying to upload printable flyers that you can take and print out however many you need. The signs that you see, you can get at a Better Snellville sign in Snellville, just north of the Chevron station, or you can go online and order however many you would like. They have, the more you order, the less expensive, and you can go in with your neighbors. But we're seeing a lot of signs, and let's see what else. A Better Snellville, excuse me, a better sign. See, I need you to keep me in line. A better sign backslash SOS Snellville. And like I said, yes, it's on Scenic Highway, as I said, just north of the Chevron station. Ron, did you want to allow? Okay.
Okay. Kim Ryan, can you make your way up here, please? Are you still with us? Folks, oh, here we go again. As we try to wrap this up, everybody, I'd appreciate just a couple of more minutes. What can you do to help us? What can you do to help this cause? As you came in, there was a list of emails and phone numbers of the influential people in the city of Snellville. Now, I want to repeat what I started this meeting with. The people of Snellville are not allowed to make any statement or any decision They can't talk about this, but we can let them know how we feel. Okay? Take the time and send reasonable emails and letters. They will become part of the permanent file, the public record. Please don't berate them. They've done nothing wrong. But they need to hear from us. And what they need to hear from, and I'm sorry, folks, when you talk about schools like I did, it's difficult for them to use that to make a legal decision. The school cluster, the state laws, they tell us that it's up to the schools to take care of that. Okay? Now we know that means rezoning, redistricting. However, if you want to pleasantly remind them, that's up to you. The comprehensive plan, they have a plan, a 2030 plan that states a lot of good information. Please take the time to find it. And you're going to see in that plan where it talks about single-family residence communities. That's what we are. We're not a multifamily. We are a single-family resident community. And I do believe the Snellville plan calls for the same thing. Crime statistics, if you have them, don't just say it's going to create more crime. Send them statistics, traffic counts, pictures. They understand, and I've already apologized to them, that our intent is to flood them. They need to know that the Brookwood cluster is united against this. Please, take the time, in your own words, write them a letter. Make it part of the public record. And please do not accuse them of anything that they haven't done. Okay? I would like to introduce Ms. Kim Ryan, who is the CEO of Eastside Hospital. I have no idea what she's going to say, but she has to have a word. So she was not on the agenda, and please, everyone, if you would just give her a couple of minutes to say what she needs to say. Let's hope it's nice.
Thank you very much. I'll be brief. Can you hear me? Hello? Oh, yeah, don't touch it. I won't touch it.
This is what you get when you buy your microphones with the lowest bidder.
As the largest employer in Snellville and as an expert in healthcare, Eastside Medical Center is not taking a stance on this. We are neutral. We don't believe it's in our interest to get into zoning concerns, but I have heard, I've gotten emails, a lot of emails. The perception is that we support this project. We are mentioned in the document that was submitted. I had absolutely no knowledge until much after it was submitted, and I learned it when a realtor called me and said, "Why are you supporting?" So please don't believe that we are supporting this. As a homeowner in the Manors, I have concerns like each of you do, okay? But as the CEO of Eastside, I remain neutral. I just wanted you to understand that I had no knowledge, nor did any of the officers at Eastside. Thank you.
And we're going to get into some more questions very quickly. Please, one question per person.
Good evening, Jeff Davis. I grew up in Stone Mountain, like Mr. Weber, and I just wanted to caution the council against a quick decision. Back in the 80s, Stone Mountain decided to put a median down the middle of Memorial Drive. I don't remember what the reason was, maybe it was safety, but soon after the median went up, all the businesses started closing, and eventually the grocery stores closed. My parents left Stone Mountain in 2004, shortly after the hubcaps got stolen off my dad's Ford LTD station wagon. So once, like Chad said, once you set a precedent, you could be going the wrong direction. And I believe Ms. Iami's closing statement was, what do you envision the Snellville of the future? I'd like it to look a lot like Snellville looks today and not have to remember like I do the Stone Mountain of the past.
Everybody, I was hoping to try to catch up with the crowd before everybody left. My name's Dave McKay. I've been a resident and participant in this cluster for over 20 years. I'm also a realtor. I'm also the HOA president of our homeowners association. What I want to bring up, and I haven't heard this from anybody, is I haven't heard anything from our school board on the possibility of some of us being redistricted out of the Snellville or the Brookwood cluster. And let me show you, the boundary lines are very tight. When you go on this side, and don't get me wrong, I do appreciate planned communities. But when you bring a large influx over here, you sometimes push out us on the borderlines. So you got a lot of us that are technically Lilburn addresses, but we are part of this cluster, been participating in all these events, supporting the teachers, the students for years. We have a very dynamic neighborhood. We have 80% of our neighbors have been the original owners, very unusual. We now have an influx, and I brought one of my neighbors with me that has 2 young girls who are looking forward to grow up in this cluster. But we are dangerously close to right on the borderline where, guess what? And I'm not trashing other schools, but there's a lot of us that are very close to the Shiloh line. Some of you guys are real close to the South Gwinnett line, okay? I understand we've got a lot of trailers right here already. Now, I could be wrong, but from what I understand is Brookwood already had 200 additional students enrolled, call them transits or whatever, that I don't think were expected. Now you bring in 500 more potential households, even if you only have 2 children per, okay? This school can only accommodate so many students. Now, again, if you live in the Brookwood cluster and you do get redistricted, you can say, you just forget your property value. I can tell you right now as a realtor that your property value will drop. If you're lucky, if it only drops $50,000 or $60,000, you might be lucky. But you are going to take one heck of a hit on your home if you ever get pushed out of this cluster. Now that is going to be a huge concern that I think everybody should be considering. Also, just because some of us are not technically in Snellville, we are so close in Lilburn, we support the vendors, we support the business owners, we support the restaurateurs. We do a lot of shopping right here in Snellville. Okay, so that's the point I wanted to make, is be careful of how this could redistrict some of us, okay?
I'd like to address one point very quickly. I've had breakfast with Alvin Wilbanks and Bernie Kirkland, and I've had several conversations with Bob McClure of the school board. They understand our concerns, but like the town council of Snellville, they are bound to not make any determinations. They cannot make statements. But I will tell you that the school board is very much watching what's happening, and they're very, very concerned about the opinions of this cluster.
Hey, my name's Jenny. Looking out here, yikes. Here we go. Okay. I see a few of my fellow.
Sorry.
I broke it.
Right now.
Maybe it's time to be over.
Hello.
No, it's not going to work for sure.
Sorry, buddy.
Thanks, there we go. All right, my name's Jenny, and I'm looking out here and I see a few of my fellow Stone Mountain High School graduates. Hello, Trent. Back in '92, my sister graduated. I graduated in '96. '92, Stone Mountain was a school of excellence for DeKalb County. Very prestigious award there. By '96, when my sister decided to come home from college and bring me a bag of Chick-fil-A lunch, trying to be nice, she got stopped at the door. The bag was searched, and I was told, "I'm sorry, You can't bring that in here because even though we searched the bag, we're scared there might be drugs in it. That's how bad it had gotten in 4 years. Growing up there, I watched it. I was a little kid, free to run, play through my neighborhood, everything was great. Gradually, different groups started moving in. Yeah, we got apartments. Central Drive used to be a nice place to be. Memorial Drive used to be great. We would drive all the way, I think it was like a 25-minute drive to the nearest Dairy Queen back then. Dairy Queen was out on Memorial. When I got into high school and I was about to get my driver's license, my parents told me they would kill me if they ever caught me anywhere on Memorial Drive, because with the apartments that started going downhill, they had been nice, but they started going downhill. When that happened, the entire area tanked. You couldn't go to Dairy Queen. After football games, we had to run home. There was no place to go. When I graduated at Memorial Stadium, that was the year of the Olympics. I remember hearing over the loudspeaker, we don't know if we can have graduation at Memorial Stadium because a dead body has been found. That is what happens. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a jerk, but you bring in nice apartments at some point to try to get more money, try to bring in more people, you have to start lowering your standards because you need the money to keep it going. Don't let this become another Stone Mountain. I beg you.
Hi, we'll try. Quick, Joe, quick.
Joe Gargiulo, the dumb one again. First, I'd like to appreciate Joe Anderson and all the people on SOS giving their time and efforts to put this together. There's two things that I've heard. Is one, legal fight, and two, the two developers, and I like to direct this to Joe Anderson. The two developers have had attorneys. Does SOS have an attorney? No. Okay. I think this here, if there was 1,000 signatures and if 2 people came from every household, that's 500 people. 500 times $100, that's $50,000 to get some attorney work going. I'd like to, if you accept this here.
I don't want to take any money.
Well, I think we should try to leave it.
I appreciate that. SOS is not registered to accept money. If a group of homeowners wants to get together and hire an attorney, that's fine. We're just not set up to do that.
Would it be advantageous?
I'm going to be paying I'm also going to thank our 2 police officers that are here tonight. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We really appreciate having you all here, and I'm going to be paying them myself because I thought it was important that they were here. But I really don't want to start collecting money at this point in time.
You don't think it'd be advantageous to hire an attorney to fight this?
Maybe.
At this point, we don't have anything to fight. We're voicing our opinions. There's no damages until there's a decision made, and so there's nothing for us to hire an attorney to do at this point. Well, we really appreciate that input.
Good evening. I just got some information that I wanted to share with all of you. People have said that there's speculation on what would happen when our apartment moves in. My husband and I have done some research, and I just want to share some of that with you. The crime statistics from April 1st of this year to August 1st, this is only 4 months of what has happened within a 1-mile radius, first of all, of our neighboring high schools.
to them is I have a young professional, as I'm sure many of you out here do too. I know what young professionals want. My daughter, she doesn't really want it, as she teases me acting like she does. But they want a nightlife. Those young professionals that are going to move into those kind of places that they're trying to sell us on in their marketing is they want a nightlife. They want an active life. They want I don't drink, so I don't know what you call it, but they want the alcohol on the corner, and they want the bar and the loud music down the street, and they want to be able to walk to it and walk home. Is that really what we want the future of Snellville to be? Because if apartments are allowed in, and the young professionals would happen to want to rent instead of buy, that is the future that we would be looking at.
Hello, my name is Ted. Actually, let me dovetail off what she just mentioned. I think the lady was up here earlier saying that she had a daughter that lived down in Buckhead and another one that lived someplace else, and they come back to Snellville to raise their kids, but they wanted to live in a more exciting place. Building apartments and a place to live does not make it a more exciting place. Besides that, my question is this. Both of the developers that came up here, their developments look nice. That said, buildings don't make the community. I think anybody that lives around here and has driven on the roads, been to the schools, sees the roads are overcrowded, the schools are overcrowded. But my biggest question, and I think there was a real estate agent up here earlier, real estate's bought and sold every day. What happens when one of these developers decides, okay, I want to sell? What's the new owner going to do with the property? Who are they going to rent to? What's going to be their market? That's my question.
I'm Sandy Helms, and I just want to say two things. One, I've lived here, I live in Snellville City, like I've lived here for 15 years. I've had 3 daughters raised through Snellville and Brookwood cluster. They're very highly educated. I have one still that's just started middle and one that's in elementary, so I still have a long way to go. Okay. This is a great community. We moved here on purpose, you know, for what this community can offer my children. And when she said earlier that Snellville doesn't welcome change, I have lived here long enough. I have seen lots of change. Just look at 124. I mean, from 15 years ago to now. I mean, we welcome change. She just wants to welcome the apartments, which is not going to want it being a good change in the end. It will be for the first year or two, but you know, just wait a couple of years. It will change the community. The second thing I wanted to say was, I have gotten literature. I don't know about y'all, but I've gotten literature on possible redistricting. Some of the literature I've gotten, my neighborhood is in that redistricting. Okay. I know they don't know for sure exactly what's being redistricted. I just know it's proposed. We could be proposed in this district, but where they're proposing to redistrict, if our neighborhood does do it, which is not a bill, is either in the South or Shallow district. Okay. We live here for a reason, and if my neighborhood gets redistricted, we will move. My kids will not go Shallow. So I want everybody to think about that, because when we are in the Snellville city limits. If we get redistricted, it's only going to take time, and it's going to start going down. Okay, it will. Because when I live, you know, I don't think I'd be the only one in my neighborhood to move. Okay, and if and when that did happen, I don't want it to happen, but if and when it did, the reason I do move is because I want better for my children. So I'm forced to move. I don't want to be forced to move.
My name is Mary Tuscany. This is my neighbor in Melville. I don't know which microphone I'm speaking in.
My name's Marion. This is my neighbor. I also live in Nob Hill. I've lived there for 20 years. And my neighbor has just told me she's going to move out if we're redistricted. We've been given flyers going around our neighborhood that we're going to be redistricted to Shiloh, that the cutoff will be Mountain View Drive, and Harbor Oaks and a number of other neighborhoods are going to be in it too. I don't know where this information is coming from. It's rumor. It's just something that's appearing in our mailboxes. So I'm very frightened to hear that my neighbor will be moving out. I'm frightened what might happen to my neighborhood. I love my house. My house backs up onto a creek valley. It's like being up in the mountains. I'm not going to move, but I'm afraid of what might happen to my neighborhood if we're redistricted and wonderful people like my neighbor move out. Thank you.
I'd like to point out that none of the flyers were associated with SOS. We have no knowledge of redistricting. The Gwinnett County School Board is not talking. They have no reason to talk at this point, and they are meeting, as far as I know, and I know these people, they have not indicated any redistricting whatsoever because there's no reason for it. I will tell you that there is another school cluster that's being built to take the pressure off of Brookwood and Central. Okay, now, if that gets into redistricting, then we have another battle to fight, but that's for a different reason. I guess that I can simply say, why is Brookwood and Central overcrowded? Apartments. Okay, we seem to run out of people. I want to thank everybody, but one thing I really want to emphasize, and I wish the crowd had hung on for a few more minutes. One thing that is extremely important is to stay energized. This can't be a long, drawn-out battle. We've had one postponement. We could have another. We could have another after that. I've seen these things go on 6 to 8 months and then be dropped. It's all part of the process. But we have to stay focused, we have to stay energized, and you have to make sure that your neighbors continue to talk about it. If you let it go stale, we can lose. Okay? With that said, Town Council, thank you so much for coming. Mayor, thank you so much for all this. And I will say